Holla ballers, it's Preacher and I'm bringing you some Holy Paladin gameplay today. Pretty interesting stuff came out of the Holy Paladin. One, a lack of interest at certain stages, but also playstyle changes which you guys might need to pick up as you're getting into your Holy Paladin and doing some raiding. The best way I find to learn about a lot of things, including healing and generally any playstyle, is to put myself in that situation. Theory can only get you so far. It's only when you're in environments and you're understanding how fights work do you really start to understand how your class can perform well. So what I've decided to do is put together 3 bosses where I tried different playstyles. Do note that the Holy Paladin I am playing right now is fully PvP geared, lacking in a lot of spirit, including a PvP trinket, which doesn't benefit me for a great deal whatsoever, but that's the way it goes. And if you're in even worse gear than me, then hopefully you can perform even better. In this first video, against the Stone Guard, I was very much of the opinion of trying to heal how I used to heal on Holy Paladins, which was a general consensus of constantly casting Holy Lights and not really trying to spam heal or overheal in any ways. You can see a lot of people in LFR always heal with crazy things. It's not uncommon to see things like permanent healing rains, sanctuaries down, Light of Dawns flying out when nobody needs any AoE healing, and all that kind of good jazz of people spamming heals and trying to get on the HPS meters as best as possible. But that's okay. My idea of healing in this particular fight right here, it was a ninja pull, which was a pretty shame. I started with quite low mana to start with. But I was very much of the opinion of chaining a lot of Holy Lights into tanks and then just waiting for people to need healing. You see, there's a Spirit Link down there, which is just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life. Didn't help anybody whatsoever. But then you get these burst phases of AoE healing. Very much in the style of LFR right now is you'll have a lot of periods of downtime where you're supposed to mana conserve. And then you'll have these bursty AoE healing phases where you've got to do a lot of work as a healer and then you can kind of relax for a bit. I played this one wrong. I was very slack on my Holy Shocks and Holy Power generation. I didn't realise exactly how badly my mana management would be when I started doing this. If I was to not make best use, I mean absolute best use in prioritising Holy Power generation, I very much started to suffer mana-wise. I was casting, as you can see here, a ton of Holy Lights, always trying to be casting something, just help people out, do a little bit here and there, and just keep things going as I normally would. This actually proved to be very detrimental towards my healing. I definitely felt I was failing a lot. As you can see, I leave Holy Shock on cooldown for extended periods of time that I shouldn't have done. I wasn't really focusing enough on making sure my Holy Power intake was as good as it could be, and I certainly wasn't doing anything appropriate like pooling Holy Power. So in this fight, I felt very mana starved. I felt my HPS was extremely weak compared to where it should be. It wasn't bad by any means, but this is LFR, and I was sort of trying my hardest here to maintain a solid healing output, which was disappointing to me to see how much I got shit on by the other Paladin. When I checked that Paladin out, I noticed that essentially most of his healing, as you can see there, was all Light's Hammer and Light of Dawn. And essentially that was it. He casted very, very little single target heals whatsoever. So I decided to switch up my playstyle to this second boss. In this boss, I put myself in melee range to take as much advantage as possible out of Seal of Insight, getting some melee hits in and regenerating enough mana that way. And I tend to play what I thought was... This is where I started to feel very bored of my Holy Paladin. I tried a playstyle which revolved around essentially not healing much of anything until people desperately needed healing. And what I did in the meantime was just keep Holy Shock on cooldown on the tank. I was just getting as much Holy Power as humanly possible. I also mixed in a lot more of pooling Holy Power for periods when people would need burst healing. Instead of just constantly trying to keep Eternal Flames up on other people and being very much more spammy, as you can do in higher gear, there's no doubt about that, I played a style of just Holy Shocking, and then throwing in some melees and getting some mana back, and that was it, essentially. I just thought, let me try this out, where I focus very much on just getting as much Holy Power as possible, and then just AoE healing or throwing out Eternal Flames should they be needed, and doing not much else. As you can see, I essentially cast no Holy Lights during this fight whatsoever. The result, a comparatively much higher HPS than I had had on on the previous fight, which is insane. It was a very, very boring, very, very tedious playstyle of just sort of waiting to do something, and I really disliked that playstyle. This is what started to make me think, this isn't quite as cool as I want it to be. So I started to do, as you can see here, I pooled Holy Power, which means I was generating Holy Power and up to 5 stacks sometimes, up to 5 charges, just for when I needed to throw out a ton of healing And as a result, my HPS was much, much higher, although my enjoyment of the game was severely reduced. This playstyle certainly works. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. It certainly works. You can see I'm pooling Holy Power. I'm aware there's going to be this bursty phase coming up, so I move straight back into the ballers, and then I start throwing out massive heals, AoE heals, piling on that the Holy Powers just to get more and more healing out. And as you can see, the HPS difference between me and the other Paladin is nowhere near as dramatic as it was in the previous fight. So overall, this playstyle was much more efficient and much more suitable, but much less interesting. Much less interesting, which is what I really didn't like about it. I was getting much better results from what I consider to be a much worse and much less interesting playstyle whatsoever. Of just pooling Holy Power, oh now I need to AoE heal, okay let's just spam out all that Holy Power and then spend the next few moments regenerating Holy Power for the next phase, without casting much in between, which was felt like I was a little bit reliant on other players, which I don't really like in healing. I don't really tend to rely, especially in LFR, that other people will take care of any immediate problems. On the final fight, I tried something a little bit different as well. On this one, I generally tried to get Holy Power as much as possible again, which is certainly the correct style. You should be generating as much Holy Power as humanly possible, and then generally dumping that Holy Power as soon as possible as well, instead of sitting on it and waiting for more to happen. This is kind of a playstyle which I would consider to be extremely noobish and will only lead to very bad habits. I thought I'd give it a whirl to see what the HPS output would be like, and it wasn't too bad, which is worrying. This is LFR again, so we're not really picking up on certain strenuous moments that you'll find in normal and in heroic raids, but it'll certainly get you a little bit of practice of dealing with various situations. So it's a good place to start if you're starting out on your Holy Paladin and you're practicing some stuff. The recommended playstyle is I would definitely lean towards the second boss, where I was pooling a lot of Holy Power, as much as it was relatively boring. Pooling a lot of Holy Power and then just saving it for when I needed it. And if I didn't need more Holy Power, I'd then start throwing out some extra heals here and there. Generally just focusing very much on making sure I had mana for when situations got a little bit dire. It's not uncommon in LFR to see most heals go round about 30–40% unless their class is particularly overpowered, because they're spamming as much as humanly possible. This fight offers a lot more single target development, which allowed me to do a lot more Eternal Flames, but I certainly felt like I was constricted, especially in the early gear, to literally a combination of Holy Shock, Holy Radiance, Light of Dawn, and Eternal Flame, with the level 90 talent thrown in between for some extra healing, which definitely reduced my enjoyment of the class. And overall, it's not too different as we move up the raid. Sure, you're going to be finding out some more single target heals, but the bread and butter of your class is just generate as much Holy Power as you humanly can, and then fire it off as soon as it's needed, and you'll have nice HPS output because of that. I definitely suffered from a lack of Light's Hammer in these fights. Light's Hammer would have been much more beneficial than the Holy Prism I was using. But still, it's not the end of the world by any means. The summarization of this is this tendency to favour just 3 or 4 spells, even as we move up in the gear, after researching a little bit as to how we move up. It's very mindless, and it's not particularly enjoyable. That was my main issue with the Holy Paladin, is no matter how cool or how much I was maybe beating healers of successful gear, there's another Holy Paladin in here and I was absolutely destroying him. But that wasn't the point I was aiming for. I'm not trying to own people on HPS meters. It was more finding out what is the most efficient playstyle of this class. And in your early gear, it's very much a case of let's get as much Holy Power as we can. And as soon as we can make use of that Holy Power ability, be it Light of Dawn or Eternal Flame, then we fire it off as soon as possible. Of course, as we get more Spirit, we're going to be able to probably generate a lot more Holy Power through things like Holy Radiance, and start throwing out some more Holy Lights and maybe even some Divine Lights as we move down the gear levels. But ultimately, we're not going to see too much variation in this playstyle whatsoever of how it's done, which is one of the issues I think exists with the Holy Paladin right now. I think it could use some mixing up and some more unique heals that aren't just either an AoE or single target. That was the only issue I found with the Holy Paladin, is I have either AoE or single target, and that's it. Nothing predictive about it. It's just output. Okay, now they need healing, now I can use my Holy Power. And that was only my minor issue with it that led me to be a little bit bored with the Holy Paladin compared to Cataclysm. I felt like it was slightly more unique then. But overall, output is fine. Output is absolutely fine. You'll do enough healing as you want. Look after your mana, use as many Divine Pleas as you humanly can, and get them mixed in, and you'll have a great old time. Alright, ballers, that's your Holy Paladin. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope you can figure out a playstyle that suits you the best too. Take it easy, ballers.